right, so week 2 is called face value. And the idea behind face value, we're going to be looking at all the things that contribute to the story we tell ourselves, how we define things, and the reasoning behind it, right? And so it's kind of starting to identify and evaluate if we're minimizing experiences or meanings, or if we're, exaggerating them. And first, we're going to start to talk about what that looks like and the different sectors we can identify it, and then we'll get more into the details. And so that leads us right into the topic for today, which is living with purpose.
Yeah, and then today's topic?
Living with purpose.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the definition we have for purpose is to act by reason in order to support a goal that is bigger than yourself.
Yeah. And the point of that, the reason why we need to know that is so that we can understand what's drawing us forward. We can kind of bust beliefs that aren't necessarily true or they're limiting. And so just getting a full evaluation of, having this idea of your future self or the future and how you want to contribute and who you want to become. Right? It's really hard to contribute and collaborate with people or with the world when you don't have an idea of who you're supposed to become. And so when you're lacking purpose and you're not intentionally living, it looks like having low energy, let me read this. It looks like lacking reasoning, purpose, direction, or dreams, and it leads to this feeling of emptiness. And so you're missing this emotion in life somewhere, and there's gonna be not a whole lot of passion, not a whole lot of drive, and you can even see it in holes in your personality where you're just feeling like you're missing something. And so what does that look like for you?
So the way that I can really put those words into a good illustration is before I got clean, and a long time before that, I didn't really do a lot of self-investigation and want to learn about myself. I didn't understand the breakdown between spiritual, emotional, mental, and physical, and the relationship between them. And so what ends up happening is you end up adopting other people's values and living by either other people's purpose or without any purpose in general, and then telling yourself a story to explain what happened rather than choosing the way you want to be and then making your decisions based on that going forward. And so what happened is I drank a lot, did a lot of other things that were basically to make it so I didn't listen to my inside voice in myself, and I just kind of got outside stimulation to make myself feel good or numb myself. And once I decided to look at what my purpose was or is, and who I wanted to be, I would start able to be proactive with my decision making, who I surround myself with, and why I do things, and what my larger goal is, rather than letting outside influences kind of determine that and then me to explain it to myself.
Yeah, and I think there's this human need about wanting and needing to contribute, right? It's like that same sense of needing to be needed or wanted, because we need to contribute to something greater than ourselves. We all have this inherent belief somewhere, whether we listen to it or not, that we're a part of something much larger, right? And so giving back to society makes it so that the suffering that you've been through and the pleasure are all made for something. And so having a reason for it allows you to get through the slumps much quicker, if you're able to identify or just relate that, right? Like just talking about it and listening about it is kind of the foundation to thinking outside of the box. And not all beliefs are wrong, so we do them for a reason, right? And so it's just being able to stop and evaluate, why you're doing what you're doing, because I wanted to add what it looked like for me is that I was doing things without knowing why, because everybody else was doing them, right? And so whether it was people in my family celebrating certain things or a friend group doing something, and I ended up at the wrong place in the wrong time on several occasions, and it led to, poor choices for me. But it's like, well, how did it all start, right? What was I doing that was going to actively help me participate and contribute to, you know, something bigger. And so, yeah.
Yeah, and you know, you left a couple words out that I relate to, which is like when you lose your purpose, you lose your optimism and hope for the short and long term future. And without those things, you know, you lose, you know, a reason to even be excited about right now, you know, and that ends up driving away other people who do have that excitement, because people who have that energy end up wanting to protect that energy. And so, you know, it's the whole law of attraction. And so once you can identify that in yourself, you can see it in other people. And so really to get you know, this team that we're going to talk about eventually, we got to start here and work on what drives us and what we can contribute, and then we can find other people to fill our shortcomings and our weaknesses or you know, threat areas, which we'll get into later this week.
Yeah. And so, just as a recap, like, this is Living with Purpose for the first week of Face Value, where we're really discovering what it means to live with purpose and challenging some of our beliefs. So